With only 10% of Pattaya residents receiving even a single dose of COVID-19 vaccines, the hope for reopening the city to foreign visitors in October remains slim. From Pattaya Mail. Sang Juan Permenta, owner of TJ's Music Bar, on Soi Nak Luar 18, said last month she wants to reopen her Ladyboy bar that she has owned for a decade, as it will add life to Pattaya's environment. But Damrongkiat Pinit Khan, secretary to Entertainment and Tourism Association of Pattaya City, said last month that entertainment venues in provinces with low numbers of new COVID-19 cases, which included Pattaya when he was quoted, but does not now, should be able to reopen. Fully vaccinated foreign tourists, willing to put up with harsh restrictions and jump through copious bureaucratic hoops, can enter Phuket without having to undergo quarantine. But only hundreds, not thousands, and certainly not millions as before, are taking advantage of the offer. Tanusak Pungdit, president of the Phuket Chamber of Commerce, said the Tourism Authority of Thailand is hoping to draw 40,000 tourists a month over the next 3 months. Pattaya nightlife operators continue to cast hopeful gazes toward Phuket, where international tourists started returning July 1st, but with new coronavirus cases surging, there's little hope the same thing will happen here. Pattaya will set fares for speedboats operating between Bali High Pier and Koh Larn, following complaints from tourists about prices and service. From Pattaya Mail. Mayor Suntaya Koonplom said at June 29, Pattaya City Council meeting, that a survey, taken earlier this month, found 43 operators own 106 speedboats at the South Pattaya jetty. While all the speedboat operators have been spared paying pier usage fees for more than a year, due to the coronavirus pandemic, that hasn't stopped them from undercutting each other on fares. That led to complaints about poor service and unsafe conditions, many posted to social media, after Koh Larn reopened June 14. A common tactic has been to sell round-trip voyages at cutthroat prices, but tourists reported that the drivers would leave them on the island, not returning to take them back to Pattaya. Others reported that the speedboats were being unsafely overloaded, and no one from the city or marine department was checking passenger loads. Pattaya officials said June 15 that the city would start selling mooring licenses and regulate how many speedboats can serve Bali High. Applications had to be submitted by June 18, when the city began deciding who gets to operate at the pier. Suntaya didn't indicate whether any decision was made, or if the matter is still being contemplated. He simply said the city would set the standard price for speedboat services and ensure all boats and drivers are registered. This ought to generate a plethora of tourist traffic and help locals suffering under the heavy coronavirus restrictions. Well, maybe not. Our governor issued an overnight alcohol ban in Chonburi province, which happens to include Pattaya. From Pattaya Mail. Once again, authorities are using alcohol consumption as an easy scapegoat for recent COVID-19 outbreaks, even though most new cases are found in alcohol-free construction sites and fresh food markets. Governor Pakrathorn Tianchai last Friday night, July 2, signed an order banning alcohol sales from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., starting on the weekend. The order remains in effect until further notice. The Chonburi Disease Control Department issued the order, claiming alcohol consumption increases the risk for spreading COVID-19, which adds to Pattaya's dying pub scene. The mandate further states that events, functions and meetings are allowed, but only under strict anti-coronavirus measures, and without alcohol. Pattaya police arrested a British expat who allegedly fired a handgun into the air, sparking a 2-hour standoff with authorities. Tirarak, Sutai Wong, reports for Pattaya Mail. Michael Gerasimidis, 44, reportedly fired at least 4 shots into the air at his Palm Oasis village house, off Soi Teprasit 9, around 7 p.m., July 2. 2 housekeepers fled the scene before police arrived. Law enforcement, watching from an elevated position, spotted Gerasimidis pacing around his living room, with what appeared to be a handgun. Officers initially refused to enter the property, until tourist police arrived with about 50 officers, and a SWAT team, complete with sniper. When Gerasimidis walked toward his car, they moved in, ordering him to drop any weapon he might have. He was unarmed, and surrendered without further incident, after 10 p.m. Police allegedly found a .38 caliber pistol inside the house. Housekeepers Tanasiri Duangquan, 36, and Porntip Sofantawin Pang, 38, claimed Gerasimidis was drunk, and got into an argument with an unnamed woman, who allegedly damaged his car. The woman was not spotted during the standoff. Officials did not initially specify which, if any, charges would be laid against the Briton. Vaccination day arrives in Pattaya, but vaccines don't. From Pattaya Mail. Angry and disappointed Pattaya residents voiced their displeasure after showing up at Pattaya City Hospital for their COVID-19 vaccinations, only to be told there were no vaccines. Mayor Suntaya Kun Plom had gone with his advisors to the Soy Buakau facility July 5 to observe as first doses of AstraZeneca vaccine and second doses of Sinovac jabs were to be dispensed. But those who registered online 4 to 6 weeks ago and showed up at their appointed time were told there would be no shot that day, or possibly any day, in July. "We don't have the vaccines. The government has not sent them to us," announced a hospital official. "Don't expect it this month. Pattaya City Hall will call you." The unvaccinated were not pleased. "All we hear from the government is to go and get vaccinated, but they have no vaccines," groused one Pattaya resident who walked away empty-handed. "So all the talk on TV is false. They promise that there will be enough vaccines for everyone, but we come, and they say they don't have any. They didn't even have the decency to tell us in advance," said another person who made the trip to downtown Pattaya. "I checked my registration on Morprom every day, watching for any changes or postponements, but nothing showed. We are thoroughly disappointed with the authorities and do not trust them anymore." Others at the hospital said the government's plan to open the country to fully vaccinated foreign tourists, without restrictions, in mid-October a joke. Not everyone left without a jab, however. Pattaya did vaccinate vendors at the Amorn, Nak Luar, New, and Lan Po markets, who showed up for vaccinations after their workplaces were closed for 3 days, following coronavirus outbreaks. Pattaya continues to take reservations for AstraZeneca, Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccinations, but have no dates when the jabs actually might be administered. The following is a list and commentary on the details necessary for entry into Thailand's Sandbox in Phuket. By Barry Kenyon for Pattaya Mail. The Thai embassy in London is amongst the first diplomatic posts to describe what wannabe foreign entrants must do to enjoy the Phuket Sandbox from July 1. The details also give us some idea of the amendments likely to be made if the Pattaya Sandbox is actually launched on October 1. Registration to come to Thailand must be via a Thai embassy to obtain the all-important certificate of entry. The requirements include proof of COVID-19 vaccination, with the second dose at least a fortnight before departure. There is also a need for a COVID-19 RT-PCR test 72 hours before departure. COVID health insurance of at least $100,000, confirmed air ticket directly to Phuket, no transit stop in Bangkok allowed, and confirmation of hotel booking at a registered SHA Plus hotel or hotels are all needed. The proposed Pattaya Sandbox will likely specify arrival at Bangkok or Utapao airports, with ongoing travel to Pattaya by sealed transport. Entrants must spend at least 2 weeks in Phuket before being allowed to travel elsewhere in Thailand. The one exception concerns those whose air tickets show they plan to stay only for a few days in Phuket before proceeding to the airport for their international flight. Travelers under 18, who are not vaccinated, are allowed to enter via the Sandbox, only if they are traveling with their fully vaccinated parents. One problem for the Pattaya Sandbox will be how to restrict foreigners from escaping from Pattaya during the first 2 weeks of restriction, as there are so many exit routes. There is likely to be a special requirement for tracking apps, and even wrist bracelets, and facial recognition procedures. The Phuket Sandbox published details do not mention any tracing procedures. Applicants will need to show they have booked, for at least 2 weeks, at a COVID-registered hotel at their destination. Thus, it is not possible for returning expats who have a home in Thailand to use the Sandbox route, unless they are prepared to pay for 2 weeks' accommodation in a hotel they don't actually need. There is no special Sandbox visa. Applicants will apply, at their local embassy, for a tourist or non-immigrant visa, or take advantage of the 30 days on arrival exemption. This means that Sandbox arrivals will be able to apply for extensions or new visas in the customary way. The Sandbox initiative has nothing to do with the Special Tourist Visa, STV, which has now been withdrawn in any case.